Welcome everybody. Thank you for showing up to our BEN Meta Delegate Uniswap celebration. This is a huge day for the space. Is a hell of a milestone, and we're here to briefly discuss and go over what is Uniswap V3. What are some things to look forward to? What are the new additions? And later on we're going to kind of test it out and see how we can maneuver around the interface, and hopefully that'll stimulate some conversation or some questions moving forward. And I really want to emphasize that this discussion of this event, if you will, is to promote the use of BEN's Meta Delegate governance structure, and to provide everybody with the opportunity to participate in Uniswap's governance ecosystem, and as well as to introduce newcomers and those who are familiar with the protocol on how to utilize this interface, because it's arguably, if not the largest decentralized exchange in DeFi or in the crypto space. And super pumped, super happy to get this thing rolling out. So for five key discussions that we're going to do, or five key topics we're going to talk about today. It's a brief introduction. That's what we're going through right now. Then we're going to touch on what exactly is Uniswap V3. Then touch on a brief overview on some of the additions or mechanisms that have been added to V3 that weren't available in V2. And then explore and test out Uniswap V3's interface. I think is super sleek, super smooth. And I'm more excited, like Eric was alluding to earlier, with the LP tokens. I think that's super sick. And then lastly, we're just gonna discuss briefly what to expect moving forward with the Meta Delegate committee, as well as what we can anticipate with Uniswap and what's to come. So with that being said, I want to welcome everybody again. Thank you for showing up to the celebration, to this launch of Uniswap V3. And let's get the ball rolling. What is Uniswap? So I think they do a really good job here in their documentation. I'm breaking down on and explaining like I'm 5-level explanation on what exactly is the Uniswap interface ecosystem, right? So I guess before we dive into it, is there anybody here that's new to Uniswap or isn't familiar with it, as well as those? Please speak up if you're already familiar and if you utilize the exchange at all. I'm really curious to see.
I haven't used V3 yet, but I use Uniswap all the time.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like super smooth. Uniswap, SushiSwap. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, so pretty much what Uniswap is it provides a protocol as well as the interface, and also provides the Uniswap governance structure, in which uni holders, right, Uniswap token holders, could actively participate in submitting proposals, as well as voting on submitted proposals to improve the ecosystem at large, right? And everybody has an equal opportunity to participate in this democratic governance system. And that's exactly what we created here with the BEN Meta governance, is to provide universities and chapters that are part of our community the opportunity to to vote on certain proposals, and to have an open forum and open discussion on what improvements should be done in the Uniswap space moving forward. So that's something that we're really proud to talk about, and that's a light touch on what is Uniswap holistically speaking. Again, it's a decentralized exchange, so it's all permissionless, right? There's no intermediaries, there's no waiting on order books in the back end. Everything is almost instantaneous in real time. So that's the beauty of it. And it operates all on smart contracts, which is an ingenious, innovative design when it first came out, right? So that's something really special about this. As Eric and everyone else here in the chat is saying, they're super pumped about the NFT LP pools. Harmeet mentioned giving the LP pool a try, so we're definitely going to check that out in just a moment. But I just want to go over some of the frequently asked questions. A lot of it pertains to liquidity providing. Obviously, that's a cornerstone feature here in Uniswap. And I think what's interesting, one of the interesting value props in the liquidity providing is now you could toggle between trading fees accruement, right? Accrual, excuse me. So we'll touch on that in just a moment, is if there's a stable pair, you have a low risk but pretty decent trading fee accrual. And then if you're in what they're deeming as an exotic pair, you'll get a pretty good trading fee to that. I believe is 1% or something along those lines. So I find that really cool. So you could toggle between them. David, you have something here. It'll be interesting to see how other applications utilize V3 to incentivize users. David, would you mind speaking up on that? I think that's a really
Yeah.
great and interesting point.
Yeah, so I think like what's super cool about Uniswap V3 is like it's obviously like much they're saying it's like so much more efficient, and you can like the efficiency is key. But I think like it'll be interesting that because right now basically like you provide liquidity and it's on like that constant curve. And so everybody's basically getting, there's only one, like for all the liquidity pools, there's only one LP token that's given, right? So like everybody who provides liquidity gets the same LP token. But now since that it's going to be like your LP curve is going to be different from other people's LP curves, and you're going to get a unique NFT for that. It'll be interesting to see it's like if they're going to reward users for if like certain protocols are going to reward users for providing liquidity at like a certain point in the curve. Whereas like if you're providing liquidity where like it doesn't make any sense, then like maybe like you won't even get like LP rewards. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious like how people are going to implement it, because yield farming is obviously like a big part of like what people do with LP tokens.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is you're kind of slightly touching on the concentrated liquidity factor that they've added, right? Is no longer when you provide liquidity or become an LP, right? It's they pretty much stretch out the supply that you provided from 0 to infinity, however much is the value of those tokens, right? It's you could literally select or designate a particular threshold, right? Between, let's say we're going in an ETH uni pair, right? You could say, okay, when uni is between 35 and $50, you want to be an active participant or active liquidity provider within that threshold. I think that's really interesting. And like you said, what's the incentive structure for that as well as we kind of develop this new iteration, right? That's a pretty interesting point. Maybe Yearn makes an active strategy.
Yeah, I'll speak on that real fast.
Yeah, please.
As David was mentioning, you only provide liquidity for a range of prices instead of basically being willing to buy or sell the assets at any given price from 0 to infinity. You would indicate what range you're willing to do it. So if it leaves that range, you no longer earn LP fees. So the ideal way of doing it is having a very narrow range, but having that range be actively updated according to price movements. And I could envision maybe a company like YEarn building a strategy around that. And you see all the great work they do with other automated strategies. I could envision this being a new one.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how those protocols evolve and try to adapt to this kind of I guess modification, if you will, right? Because everyone else, even let's use Balancer, right? If you provide liquidity to Balancer, it's again, there's no threshold, right? You don't just select a range as you mentioned when providing liquidity. It's 0 to infinity between the two assets, and that's it. That's your exposure, right? And I think it's interesting because they're trying to alleviate or mitigate the impermanent loss factor, right? Or how severe the impermanent loss is, right? Because now you could really limit yourself from overexposure, right? I think that's an interesting approach with this concentrated liquidity. So it's pretty neat, and also it provides capital efficiency. Ultimately, I think that's the goal with this iteration, with this launch. And I think that kind of goes into the swap fees. Yeah, Alec, another great point. Limit orders. That's pretty sick. I'm pretty pumped for that. But this is also something that I alluded to earlier, is the introduction of the three-tiered fees, right? So if you're in a stabled pair, and I'm about to pull up the interface in just a moment, you'll get a 0.05% of the trading fee. If you're more as they call, I think it's like normal or regular pairs, I forgot, or standard or something like that, you get 0.3, which is pretty typical as we saw in V2. And then if you're in more exotic pairs, you get 1%. So that's it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting to see. So let me pull up the Uniswap interface. If there's any questions, please, I want to stimulate a conversation. So just unmute your mics and let's get the ball rolling. Love to hear everyone's thoughts.
Yeah, one question I have is, like, I've always heard about impermanent loss. Does that mean, like, when you like provide liquidity, like sometimes your funds are gone forever, or will it come back or something like that?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
like,
and
oh,
you
go
got
ahead.
it. No, please,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, so I think impermanent loss, like the way you can think about it is like, when you provide liquidity, you're really like, you're kind of like betting on like the relative price of the two assets being like constant, right? That's kind of like how you make money in the long run. If those begin to like deviate, then essentially like are like the way, because like the way that AMMs work, like they don't have like a price built into the system, so they have to rely on arbitrageurs to basically arbitrage the price between like, you know, the Uniswap price and like what the price is on like Binance and Coinbase or etc. So basically like when the price of your pairs begins to deviate, and if they deviate a lot, then like the arbitrageurs are essentially like arbitraging that price, and they're making a ton of profit. And so like your impermanent loss is like what the arbitrageurs make. And so it's impermanent because like if the prices kind of deviate, but then, you know, a month later they kind of converge and you're back to where you were in the beginning, then there is no impermanent loss, and you've kind of made all those trading fees. But you know, if they deviate and they deviate forever, then it becomes like a permanent loss. And so that's why like if you're yield farming or stuff, like you want to try to yield farm like pairs that are correlated. So like, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum are pretty correlated. They kind of like move together. But if you like yield farm like a stable coin versus like Ethereum, then like your impermanent loss is going to be pretty massive unless you like hedge your positions.
So in impermanent loss, will you only lose one of those currencies or both them?
So you can think of it um like the way that the pool works, and someone did like a really good post about it on Twitter. I'll see if I can find and post in the link. But basically, like over time, the pool is automatically rebalancing you to like the coin that's like worst off. So like the coin that's like underperforming is going to be the coin that you hold the most of if you're not kind of like actively updating your position, if that makes sense. So like, you know, like if you, let's say like you're providing like USDC and Ethereum, and Ethereum runs up like, you know, $2,000, then when you go to like withdraw your LP position, you'll notice that you have like a ton of USDC, but not like a lot of Ethereum. And basically like if you had just bought Ethereum and USDC and held those two positions, then you'd be better off than if you provided liquidity. If that makes sense.
Okay, so sometimes even though it has like 100% APY, you won't always get that APY, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you get 100% APY, but then like the coin, like if a coin like goes up 3x, like you're going to be worse off than, you know, than if you had just like, you'd be better off like just buying the
Okay, now
coin
I
and
kind
waiting
of
for
get
the
it. I thought it
3x.
was like, I
Yeah.
don't know, like now I kind of get it more. Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually a really great breakdown. So thank you for that. So what's interesting, this is when you go to add liquidity, what's interesting, I saw somebody in a group chat that I was in, they took a screenshot of this menu, right? And they said, wow, it seems like you need to get a master's degree now to start being an LP. And I found that hilarious. But if you really look at it, it's fairly straightforward on how to become an LP, right? And I'll just randomly choose. Actually, I'll let the group decide. What pair would you like to kind of see as a demonstration? Maybe we could test out Uni, I guess. Yeah, let's try out Uni. So once you enter the pair that you want to add liquidity to, it's like we mentioned before. So there's three tiered into the fee, a three-tiered fee, if you will. And you could do 0.05%, and this is for primarily like more stable coin pairs. So that's if you do like DAI USDC or USDC and USDT, which is Tether, things of that nature, right? And these are the more let's say standard pairs, right? And this is more of the standard fee that we saw in V2, right? And then the more exotic pairs. So that's if, you know, we'll have, these are for the more volatile pairs. So I don't know, something that comes to mind is, let's say like the Doge and some other volatile asset in the ecosystem, right? And the space. So you could go with the 1% fee because obviously you want a more return, high risk, high return, right? So I think ETH and Uni is pretty standard. So we'll do like a 0.3%. And then this is the ranging threshold that we were talking about before, as was mentioned here in the range of concentrated liquidity and the range orders, right? So let's, and then let's see. So it shows the current price from Uni to ETH, and then it shows ETH to Uni. So it's really interesting. You select, really, you have the option to customize and put it whichever exposure you want, right? What's the risk of selecting a lower fee then? I don't think necessarily there is a risk. I mean, the risk would be, of course, the impermanent loss, right? Is the you'll receive one, yeah, exactly what Harmony is saying, not being compensated enough for the risk ultimately. I mean, if you're in a Uni ETH pair, I think 0.3 is sufficient enough, right? 0.05, if you're just trading between, or you're supplying liquidity between two stable coins, there really isn't that much volume being done, right? I mean, I think the more appealing pair would probably be ETH to DAI, right? ETH to DAI probably sees, actually we could pull it up here, or here, USDC to ETH is about 15, let's round to 15.5 million in total value locked. And the last 24 hours is about 490K, right? So you'll definitely receive more fees from that pair if you would, as you see here, between two stable coins, right? The value is intrinsic in itself in that pair. But I'm going to leave it to the group. I've done a lot of talking. I kind of want to see what everyone's curious about, what you'd like to talk about. We just went over briefly the V3 overview. We're testing out the interface, checking it out. What else would you guys want to touch on or talk about?
I guess like one question that I had is like, does anybody know how the governance works for the fee structure? Because I read somewhere that you can now turn on fees for like a specific pool, which seems like, it seems pretty interesting. So I think like before it was like you would need to, I guess it seemed like you needed to vote whether or not you turn on fees like for Uniswap overall, but now it seems like you can turn on fees for like a specific pool if you vote for it. Is that, I mean, I don't know if I was interpreting that right.
Actually, that's interesting. I'll pull up the there is an ongoing discussion here in the forum regarding that. So let me pull that up for you. Is it here? Fee switch data project. Yes, but I believe that was for this is the ongoing conversation for V2, and that was when there was supposed to be a However Law was actively participating in this in the vote, and ultimately what it was is literally what we're seeing here is there could be, like you mentioned, a fee switch, but now we have the option once we're providing the liquidity to choose which tier we want. So it kind of eliminated that conversation of the fee switch, right? You just select which one
Okay. got it.
best suits you, best suits your exposure, or I guess your preference, if you will. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
Perfect. Cool. I mean, is there anything? I'm really curious. I wish I had the funds to do it in this wallet, but to test out the NFT, I might actually later on provide liquidity or migrate. What's cool is now if you provide a liquidity to, let me see if I could do that in real time so I could show everybody here. Yeah,
I think on
so
the fee switch, part of the debate was also on giving a portion of the fees to the uni holders, uni token holders. A lot of people wanted that to happen. So I don't think that has been solved yet. I think people are still discussing that because right now it's setting your own fees, but it's for the liquidity providers, the people that are putting in the tokens into the pools, not the uni holders.
Got it. Okay, yeah. I thought I read somewhere that, I mean, maybe I misread it, but I thought they said somewhere that like uni holders could now basically vote pool by pool and decide whether or not they wanted to turn on that like 5 basis point fee so that like the pool fees, so that like 5 basis points would go back to the uni holders for that specific pool. Which I think would be really cool, because I feel like right now, right? Like, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like I own like Uniswap, and I feel like it's got like cool tech, but I'm kind of like wondering like if it's ever gonna like accrue value back to the uni holders, because I feel like that's what people are like holding it for, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how you guys think about it, but that'd be really cool, because then you can start to see like cash flow coming back to the holders.
Well, I think will be interesting, and I saw a conversation about it, is like a governance mining incentive, and it's kind of similar to what you're stating, but it's more leaning towards active participation within the governance process, and I think what would happen is either you stake your uni, or same thing with the fee switch, uni holders will receive some X% of the whatever overarching liquidity that's provided in the pool, something along those lines. So I definitely think moving forward, it will be cool to see what's the incentive for holding uni outright, as well as what's the incentive for people to stimulate and provoke a conversation on the governance forums to see active changes, right? I think that's going to be cool moving forward, because frankly speaking, we don't really see anything going on in the forums, right? I mean, besides the fee switch, the last thing that was discussed was the UGB V3 bug bounty, and that was 20 days ago. That's almost a month ago. So really, there's not really that much conversation going on.
I totally agree. I think like governance in not just Uniswap, but I think governance in crypto throughout is like a big problem in terms of like, right, it's like the people who are engaged are like the whales, and like they obviously kind of like have their own self-interests in terms of like what they're voting for. And then, you know, even if you look at kind of like wallet, right? Like wallets that voted, it's like the wallets that vote on proposals, like, you know, like 10% of the vote will come from like one holder or like one wallet. And that's like, you know, that's like A16Z or something like that. So like yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there's like a huge like governance issue where like people, they need to, I think they need to figure out a way to like incentivize people to like actually participate and vote.
Well, I think that's the beauty of the meta governance, the meta governance, right? Because now with the meta governance, is smaller players could now delegate their votes. Let's say right now Uniswap wants to participate in a proposal that's occurring on Compound, right? I was going through one of the Compound proposals just last night, and I see, you know, major players in the DeFi space actively voting. For instance, like Kyber Network. Kyber Network has their own delegate and Pool Together as well, and they're voting on these proposals, right? And these votes are delegated to that, I guess, delegate, right? So it'll be neat to start seeing cross protocol voting and to see how that stirs the pot in terms of innovative change between governance structures, right? I think it will be interesting, and I think Index Co-op does a fantastic job at this, is utilizing off-chain voting, like on Snapshot, and those votes are then aggregated and sent over to the delegate, and then the delegate carries and does the on-chain voting. I think that is fantastic, and we should see more implementation of Snapshot moving forward, and seeing Snapshot proposals and things of that nature, because that will be tailored more towards smaller players, right? And see what they could do collectively, right? As a whole. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So let's see here.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's such an untapped resource. All these ideas around governance and voting and debating. And part of the reason why, you know, us at BEN, we're pushing this so hard, because it's such a great opportunity for students to get involved, especially the students that don't code, right? It's so obvious how a coder can get involved in blockchain. It's like, hey, build a dApp or get involved as an engineer. But for everyone else, all the business people, the law people, the marketing people, communications people, all the non-coders, you know, it's like, for a long time, it's like, oh, what can you do? How can you do in blockchain? Now there's so much you can do. You can get involved in voting and debating and governing, and it has real implications. Like, look, like if one of these governance protocols has very few people participating, you have an outsized voice already, just by like BEN bringing in all these students. Like, not saying that we can sway votes or anything, but like if we have a good idea, we make a proposal. If a student from somewhere has an interesting idea, they're looking at the problem a different way and they make an interesting solution, we have the ability to make that voice heard, because right now there's very few people participating in these discussions. So it's very exciting. I'm very excited to see how we can grow this for Uniswap itself, and then for the other protocols we're getting set up with meta delegates in the near future.
Yeah, exactly. So
delegate programs through BEN.
you broke up. Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, sure. The question was, are there other meta delegate programs through BEN?
And that is, no, go ahead. I cut you off.
Or is Uniswap the first one?
So happy you asked that question. Yes, the Uniswap. So how it started was we started with the Uniswap Committee, and then we created the meta governance structure. So yes, to answer your second question, the Uniswap meta delegate is the first within BEN, and we do have some more meta governance structures and committees down the pipe. We are planning to make an announcement later today. So I'll kind of leave that teaser there for now, but there's definitely more cohorts, if you will, to come, and we really want everybody that wants to be a part of the governance process and to be a part of the conversation. Please feel free to speak up. our goal is to give everybody an opportunity to not only have the experience, but to also, you know, be the voice of change, if you will, for your university, for yourselves, as well as for the community at large. So yeah, there's definitely something coming later today. So I'm excited to say that. So just you wait.
Cool, thanks.
No problem. In fact, I'll actually respond to that question with another question to you. Is there any protocol in particular that you would actively like to participate in their governance process? Anyone that comes to mind in particular?
Cardano is the first one that comes to mind. But yeah, that's the main other kind of ecosystem that I've been exploring outside of Uniswap.
Okay. You said Cardano?
Yep.
Well, you're in luck because this is public that we have a Cardano grant application currently in the final stages right now to get some money from Cardano, be a part of their ecosystem. The way that we're kind of going to be collaborating with them, should this grant, you know, get approved, is we're going to be creating a course, video lessons around getting to know Cardano, building on Cardano, and we'll be able to reward both students that complete the course and the content creators that help us create the course. So we're giving the opportunity to students to come in, create Cardano content. The students that we have in other countries can come and translate that content. And then the students that go and complete the Cardano lessons will be able to earn some ADA tokens, right, for doing that. And yeah, we obviously want to get students more involved in that ecosystem as well. So hopefully that goes through. I think it's in the final stages and it's in voting. So if you have an account on their like governance portal or their governance forum, definitely go and upvote the BEN grant so we can get that and then do more in that ecosystem.
Yeah, I was actually just on the their Fund 5 kind of crowdcast like earlier today. I'm also kind of going through their kind of Plutus development smart contract program right now. So
oh, nice.
I might be interested in kind of like being a little bit more involved in that as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep you posted.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. I thought that was really cool. I mean, and we'll see. Let's give it like a day or two to see just how much volume has been transferred from Sushi to Uniswap. I think that's going to be an interesting stat.
Well, how much volume is there now? It's been out for like a few hours, right?
Let's check it out. It's pretty consistent. I might be shilling here, but I love how the top token is FLI. That's just my thing. I think that's really cool. And I'm curious.
It's like a double weighted ETH.
Yeah. So this is an index co-op product, and in essence, what it is yeah, it's a leveraged token that gives you 2x exposure to ETH. And what's interesting is if you provide liquidity to the ETH FLI pool, it's called the flexible leverage index. You get 1.5x exposure to ETH along with any associated trading fees that are incurred or accrued when you supply the liquidity. So I think it's pretty cool that we're starting to see more products start to pop up. And I think Index Co-op just passed the latest proposal of Bitcoin, a 2x Bitcoin leverage token. So that's pretty interesting to see come down the pipe. And the way that these tokens work is Index Co-op takes out the loan. So now in order to, if anybody's familiar, you have to stay above a liquidation threshold, right? So in order to avoid, I think it's like 150%, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, the liquidation threshold. But if you stay above that, your loan is good, meaning that you're solvent, right? But then if you fall below that, you're at risk of becoming liquidated. So they cover all the risk, and all you have to do is just hold the token. So I think that's pretty cool. We're going to see more products come out like that. And I hope we see Uniswap and their governance community start, challenging that front and start bringing up more products similar to that. And now that we have NFTs in the shape of LPs, I'm curious to see what's to come of that. I really hope somebody gets creative and makes up something that will really blow this thing out the water.
Yeah, show the NFTs if you haven't already. I like the design of the way that they actually look.
Sure, let me see if I can pull it up. How can we see the NFTs on here? Unless I just Google it, right?
You could Google it or on Twitter. Everyone's been like retweeting it over Twitter.
Oh,
Yeah, there's one. Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, I kind of want one. I will have one. Everybody here, that's everyone's task is to have an LP NFT. That's awesome. All right, Jake, let's see what you sent here. Is it the same thing? Yeah, it's the same thing. Thanks, Jake. Cool. Well, with that said, what is this? Uniswap V3 governance token. I didn't know that. Is that just Uni? Wouldn't that just be Uni if it's a governance token? Or it's just a totally different token?
Could be a scam.
Could be a scam. Huh.
Uni V3 governance token.
That's interesting. Who knows? Don't buy, yeah, but maybe something's in the works. But cool. So was there a proposal? Let's see. I know that there was ongoing conversation regarding an airdrop, but that has not been confirmed, nor declined. So, let's see, proposal discussion. Let's see what's going on here. I'm actually curious to see, like this proposal is bringing up, it's referring to is a L2 adoption on Uniswap. Av is using Polygon Matic, and they're doing a great job. They're seeing a lot of liquidity being brought to their platform. So I wonder how Uniswap plans on incorporating this within their ecosystem. I think that's something interesting to look forward to. Yeah, this is the last thing in regards to your question, Harmeet. I think this is it right here. It's an open discussion on a retroactive. This is actually a long ongoing conversation for proxy contract airdrops. So a lot of people that participated in Dharma and Argent Wallet, well, not even Argent, because Argent Wallet users, I think, received it, but primarily with Dharma. And what happens is all transactions that are done are facilitated through a proxy contract. So it's kind of like an intermediary contract, right? And when the first Uni airdrop happened, no Dharma user received the Uni, even though Dharma directly utilizes Uniswap as the exchange, right, as the primary exchange. So there was a lot of really disgruntled people, for lack of a better word, that came out the works. So yeah, here you go. Retroactive airdrop excludes proxy contract users, Dharma, Matcha, etc. So that was interesting. And who knows? Maybe something is to happen in the foreseeable future. We don't know. When will the gas fees on ETH get reasonably low? I mean, honestly, these fees are already low as is, and if you've been around for quite some time, I mean, at least in the last couple months, we were seeing gas fees at 400, like 500, 300. People were paying like $50, almost $100 on a daily to push their transactions through. So seeing gas prices now at like 50, even on a pretty consistent basis now. Let's see. And this is gas now, by the way. So if you guys ever want to check out what is the most cost efficient gas price, go ahead and use gas now, and they do a really good job at displaying the fluctuating prices of gas. I think they do a really good job. And one of my favorite features on here is the average gas price. They just show a heat map on what times throughout the week and throughout the day receive the highest transactions or highest network congestion, right? We could kind of measure network congestion by the gas fee, right? And from here, it shows Saturday and Sunday, barely anything was happening. I mean, throughout the day, I guess we could assume roughly on average, the gas fee was about 28 gwei for a transaction. That's maybe $15 per transaction. That's incredibly low in relation to these last few months before the hard fork, right? So that's interesting. I hope that answered your question, Varun.
Yeah, right now I'm seeing like $54 remove my liquidity and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's like, I'd rather pay less than that.
Hey man, that that's actually pretty. I would wait for later in the evening. I mean, look, if we kind of use this last week as historical data, or a good reference point. I mean, later in the evening is usually between 28 to, let's say, 50 gwei. So give it a couple hours and maybe try again, see where gas prices are.
It's really crazy. Yeah. So yeah, I remember when I put it in like a while ago, it was only $10. Now it's like insane, right?
You know, I tend to have some fun doing that. I go on my Etherscan and I check like past transactions, like way back, and you see like some transactions were for like $2, $3, $5.
And I thought that
like,
was annoying at the time.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's a nice segue to what's to be expected in July, right? The anticipated EIP 1559, right?
So when that happens, will the gas fees like completely lower like crazy?
This is my opinion. I don't think that we're gonna see a huge fluctuation like instantaneously, like the day after the hard fork happens. We're gonna see like gas prices at like 10 gwei. You know, I don't think we're gonna see that. But it'll be a gradual decrease, kind of like what we saw after the Berlin hard fork, right? Or excuse me, I think it was London. I apologize. We saw gas prices start to kind of taper off from like 100 to 80 to now it's around these prices now, how it is now. So give it like maybe a month, I would say, a month or two.
All right, yeah. So I still
really
have my liquidity in like V2, so like it's way too expensive to migrate to V3.
Yeah, it was charging me like $150 earlier, so that's what I'm saying. Like give it later in the evening, and hop on gas now and just see where the prices are. Gas prices are.
All right, got it.
Would ETH 2.0 releasing impact ETH gas prices? I don't know. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? That's actually an interesting question. I'm curious to see what you mean by that.
Cool. Could you hear me?
Yep.
All right, sweet. Yeah, sorry about that. So basically, I mean, I was just wondering because like ETH 2.0 is gonna have a lot better like scalability solutions, right? So I'm assuming like gas prices would be really low for that. But I wonder whether that would somehow impact ETH's gas prices when that releases.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'm not all too sure, to be honest. I think we'll definitely see an effect on the price of ETH, you know, that'll definitely take an impact, right? Or be impacted, sorry. But maybe, you know, I mean, if we really take into consideration the increase in staking, I don't want to say the wrong number, but I think it's like something between like 3% of ETH right now is being staked or something along those lines. So those that ETH is out of circulation, right? Is not moving. So I think as more people start trying to become validators and start to participate in DeFi and things of that nature, we may see an increase in gas prices. But then later on, obviously, you know, things start to level off and kind of we start seeing these gas prices. So I don't know. Went on a spiel there. I really hope I answered your question. I think we will see low gas fees though. Post ETH.
Honestly, I think so too. I really hope so. I feel like if gas prices can come down with like better scalability, then I think that the market in general just becomes so much more viable, especially if they can like quarter the gas prices. That opens up like so much more work that could be done with the currencies.
Yeah, and Alec brings up a really good point with the use of rollups and L2 layers, right? Optimism. He's mentioned here Arbitrum, ZK Sync, Polygon, like all really good names, you know. And I think we're gonna see that. I think we're gonna see. I mean, Optimism. They're gonna launch mainnet. Is anticipated in the summer, right? I think June or July. So that's highly anticipated.
Yeah,
who else?
That should be coming up. And what's cool about the Optimism, I guess you could call it like environment, because it's not a separate chain. Like you have to port your assets over to Optimism, but say you like, you know, send your assets from your MetaMask into, or you connect your MetaMask to like an optimistic Ethereum, and you send your assets over there, you'll be able to trade on Uniswap for negligible gas fees. It'll basically be free. And the rollup basically keeps track of thousands of transactions and then batches it and posts it up to the blockchain. So you share the single gas fee with hundreds, potentially thousands of transactions. So Optimism isn't live yet, but you can kind of test this model out on Polygon right now. And it's, you know, a fraction of a cent to do a trade on QuickSwap, which is their version of Uniswap. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and actually to your point, it's interesting because I saw somebody mention, or maybe I heard it on a podcast. We may see zero knowledge optimism or something like that. I might be saying it wrong. I'll send everybody here the link later on if you're in the Uniswap chat. But I find that interesting. Not zero knowledge. It's optimism, but the use of zero knowledge proofs as well. It's very intricate. I'll try to find the podcast.
There's ZK rollups, which is also layer 2. Do you mean that, or is this specifically zero knowledge built on top of optimism?
Yeah, zero knowledge built on top of optimism.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm really excited. Polygon, all the Polygon stuff. I mean, Av doing lending has already deployed on Polygon, and that's getting a lot of usage. Yeah, right now there's QuickSwap for trading. So trading is super cheap, and so are providing liquidity and withdrawing liquidity. I'm waiting for, you know, the big boys like Uniswap or SushiSwap to add support for that. But I guess it's unclear if they're probably going to do both, like a Polygon implementation and an Optimism implementation. It doesn't really hurt them to just do both and then kind of see which scaling solution wins out.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think Uniswap announced they're going to start with Optimism, but SushiSwap announced they're going to go to Polygon. So it's kind of like this, you know, battle of the layer 2s. We'll see who wins out.
Awesome. So we're just about a minute over. in respect to everyone's time, I'm just gonna pause real quick. If you gotta leave, I totally understand. Don't want to take up much of your time, but I think we should start wrapping it up a little bit. With that being said, I'm going to point to Eric to make some brief announcements on what's going on at BEN, how to get more involved, how to become more involved in the community and things of that nature. Eric, if you could lightly speak on that, on any initiatives you think should be given light, please feel free.
Yeah, so a couple of things. First and foremost is, more events like this. We try to do one of these Uniswap governance calls once a month. And the purpose of our Meta Delegate initiative is first to have this intercollegiate space where we teach students about Uniswap, but also help students get involved in Uniswap governance and voting, debating, making proposals, commenting on the forums, and we're bringing students from all over the world to get involved in this and calls like this. The second piece is if you have a blockchain club at your school and you want to set up your own Uniswap delegate, that's something we encourage you to do, and we can help you through that process. And the other clubs can help you through that process too. The clubs that have already done that, like for example, Harvard Law School and Blockchain at Berkeley, both have their own Uniswap delegates running. So it's definitely a great activity to get students at your own university more interested in blockchain and to get them hands-on experience. So, keep an eye out, join the Telegram chat, keep an eye out for like the next governance call. If you want to be involved as the lead for the Uniswap delegate, that's also something we're looking for now. So if you want to help organize these events and plan the agenda, plan the discussion topics, that's something that we're looking for. And so that would be cool. You get to help out with the team. And then that's also looks really great for Uniswap or any other DeFi project you might want to apply to and say like, hey, because they're going to ask you, what we're seeing in DeFi now and in blockchain space is less about pedigrees and, what university did you go to or what was your major? It's more, what have you done thus far? Or what have you already done? And so being able to say, I helped lead these discussions. I was part of this governance. I voted in these proposals. I wrote this proposal and it passed, or even if it got rejected. Those are the things that really stand out now when getting these jobs. So it's definitely a great opportunity to get more students involved. And, if Uniswap is not your favorite project, like Jeremy mentioned, we have other delegates that are coming up very soon. We're going to be doing the same process for other projects in the blockchain space. That's going to be really cool. Not just other DeFi projects, but also NFT projects, stuff that I'm really excited about. So there's tons of ways to get involved in that. And that's just the governance stuff. We also have a bunch of other stuff at BEN. We have an intercollegiate crypto fund for students that want to get involved in trading and getting experience writing reports and doing analysis. We have the BEN Learn platform, which is on our website at blockchain.edu.org/learn, where you can watch videos and learn about blockchain and complete activities and earn BEN coin, which you can redeem for flights and Airbnbs at conferences that we travel to. And then we also have an events calendar at blockchain.edu.org/events, where we have all of our upcoming events, all of our partner events and our own events, and anything that any club is doing. So future conferences, online and offline, hackathons, startup competitions, tons of stuff happening. There's a lot of free money floating around actually. So there's a lot of prize money if you have a startup idea or if you're working on your own projects, or even if you're just looking for teams, you can find them through BEN and then get involved that way. Lastly, we have a career center that we're growing. And so with the career center, you can talk to us about looking for a job, and we could help match you with employers that are looking for things that you're interested in doing. Or if you don't know what you want to do, you can talk to us. There's office hours. So just post in the chat. And I think the link for that is wiki.blockchainedu.org/career-center. That's a pretty long one. We'll get a better link for that, but you can message me or Jeremy if you want the link to that, and we'll send that over. But yeah, there's always stuff. And then all of the upcoming events, tons of upcoming events. Just keep an eye on the Telegram chat, sign up for the newsletter, and we send everything out through there.
Awesome. And Eric kind of teased again that there's an announcement coming soon. I'm kind of impatient, so I think now as we're wrapping up, maybe the time to make the announcement. I think it's a much needed progression in terms of utilizing our meta governance structure. So you know, I think, and I'm happy to share that our next meta delegate launch will be with Compound. We're really excited to get this going. Anybody that's interested in becoming a part of this committee, wants to, you know, make a change and kind of start up this and implement this meta delegate structure, please feel free to shoot me a DM or shoot Eric a DM, or if you're in the Uniswap chat already and you want to be involved in this as well, just mention us in the Uniswap chat, and we're going to get this going. Our goal is to expand onto multiple protocols. I saw somebody mention in the chat Decentraland meta delegate. Who knows? We may dive into that as well. Is definitely come up.
That's a definite. That's 100%. Jake, is this your way of saying that you want to help lead the Decentraland delegate, because you bring it up every time? So I say let's do it. We had a call with Decentraland. They're still getting the DAO set up, and I think it's live now. So I think it's something we have action now on our side. We can push forward with that and get that one set up.
Awesome. Yeah, let's make it happen. If Jake, if you want to lead the way with that, please feel free to ping myself or Eric. I know Eric is a huge advocate and fan for Decentraland, so that might be your point of contact right there, because he loves that place. He loves that project. But cool, yes. Well, with that said, I just want to wrap up with that announcement. Compound Meta Delegate Committee is gonna open up soon. We're gonna create a channel. Again, for those interested, please, you know, make a voice be heard. We'll add you to the chat, and we'll start hosting similar meetings of similar structure regarding Compound, right? So with that said, I'll leave it open for the next 2 minutes for, you know, last comments or last conversations, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you everybody for showing up. Please take the time later today, if you haven't done so already, to test out V3. This is arguably one of the biggest days in recent history for DeFi and for the crypto space in general. So really dive and dig deep into the different intricate features that are provided. Check out the governance forums if you want to see a change. Start hitting up the Uniswap Telegram, the BEN Meta Delegate Telegram. If you're not in there already, post your interest in the chat as well. Antonio or Eric, if you could just drop the Uniswap chat link in the chat as well, so we could allow them to join, that'd be fantastic. And that's it.